particularly am happy to have her here because I think she is, in a way, an archetype of many kinds of contemporary musician all in one person. She's a composer-performer, she's a technologist, she's an integrator of composition, improvisation, and technology, computer programmer, all of these things that we've been talking about all day. She's a great collaborator with other musicians and a great collaborator with technologists. And I suspect she'll be talking about a little bit of all of that. Furthermore, she teaches music technology at the unlikeliest of places, the Juilliard Conservatory. So for all of those reasons, I think she's an excellent person to be talking to us today. And so I hope to welcome Mari Kimura.
Well, my talk is going to be in a... Hello? Do I need this?
I can hear you.
Yeah. My talk is going to be in two parts. First, I was just going to do a show and tell usual things that I do to show, and then Chris emailed me, how about the topic of the symposium? So I thought, oh my gosh. So I went back to your website, and oh my gosh, so I have to do something. And then I started to, so I sent the new abstract, and then start to, do this, the keynote thing. And then occurred to me as I was writing the bullets, this is actually a note to self. This is what I have to do and I am doing. So in a weird way, kind of self-reflecting therapy type activity. But anyway, so I titled my talk as a tradition of a time. And as Chris said, I am in the most unlikely of places, the Juilliard School. Partly because I went there, but not as a composer, not as a programmer, but as a violinist. So I did what everybody in violin who goes to Juilliard do, to pass all kinds of stuff, and So where I come from is not a kind of music making that happens quickly. But I come from the world where my teacher, 90-year-old Joseph Fuchs was my teacher, or Roman Totenberg, who just died this year, 102. They would be revising the Bach partita fingerings and the bowings when they're 90 years old to find the new ways of doing things that they've been doing all their lives. That would be very fresh and very creative and something to refine, always look for new ways of doing something, to master something. And frankly, so that's where I come from. And that's whom I deal with at Juilliard. So in that sense, I'm sort of in a unique position where the world is advancing so fast. I mean, you heard so many wonderful innovations in technology all day. That's all really wonderful, except that in my world, things have to mature and refine, and one has to master something. And unfortunately, we're technology-driven, product-driven, economy-driven, so companies have to sell you stuff. So they don't want you to mature anything. They want you to buy the next thing. So, you want to create something new that you can market and buy and then create a new thing and program, new update, So that sort of life is completely foreign to what I come from. I want to know all about, believe it or not, all about delays. I'm still having, after all these years, I'm still trying to find the right way to feel about delays. Like, I play a note and there's a delay. And musically speaking, that's not supposed to happen, right? Because I'm playing the note and there's a delay. So how do I integrate that in my musical phrasing, or how do I integrate that digital happening that I did make, but I'm not really making physically? So all that kind of a phrasing stuff. It's very hard for me to understand. It's really hard for me to understand. And I'm still, a little perplexed with the sound that I'm not making that I am actually making. So that's why I said tradition of our time Meaning, I'm actually trying to push these people. You know, it's like rock that doesn't move, but so that's where I live. And coming from that tradition, I am also, associated with that community and all that stuff. So enough of that. I've been doing this. I've been there since '98. I'm not a tenured anything. I'm just teaching one class, but that's perfect. I have 2 children, and I don't have to sit in committees. And I've done that. I taught at NYU for 2 years in full-time job, which really killed me. And I just need a little freedom right now until my younger one, it's not elementary school anymore. So I'm there just teaching one class, actually 2 classes, because the other one is independent study, which means whoever wants to come talk to me can talk about their lives or whatever. So often that happens. So really, I'm like a therapist at Juilliard. And an administrator would send me students, just talk to Mari, go talk to Mari. So what I do in my class is that, and very, beginning max tutorial, very fast. So it's one semester, they do the tutorial, whatever, and at the end of it, they're at the level where they can actually perform interactively. With minimum, knowledge. I don't teach them to create stuff from scratch or anything. I get to the point where they can steal things from other people. Use things from the internet. And recently I've been doing a little Maths for Life, requested by the students actually, so I had to learn Ableton Live. And turned out I did the introduction of Maths for Life, Janet said with Zaccarelli and they also. So that's when you were there.
Yeah.
And at Juilliard there's a theory class, history class, and so on, but not really specifically like electronic. People don't know things like what is a sine wave, and even if you're not at Juilliard, if you graduate from Juilliard walking on the street, so what is a sine wave? You want to be able to answer that kind of question, or what is a reverb? So I just do a little bit of that to sort of make them acceptable in real society. And it's true. So, but basically what I do is a very project-based private lessons. Although it's a class, I end up I live too close to the school. It's a problem because they come park in my apartment all the time. They sometimes come to me and say, I have this project I have to do, can you help me? Sure. So that kind of thing. So I had some students here, that's that guy on the top, the white hair, I think he's a really well-known bassoon player, but I'm not sure what his name is. He's a bassoon teacher. And those violin and the bass guy is the composer with the laptop and the piano chair. He came in the first class and looked at Max MSP and said, oh, no. The numbers, no, I can't. No, I'm going to withdraw. And at the end, now he's going to, he's creating a band, and he's, working the sensors and all that stuff. So in one semester, he got really hooked to it and all that. And that the oboe, that's a girl who's a percussionist. She's a really good one. She was in a Christmas Spectacular at the Radio City musical. Anyway, that oboe boy, he's my star student right now. And the background, don't look, my messy apartment. Lego boxes on the floor. And he's smiling because in front of him, this thing is a Lego house. And see the little DPA microphones? Because we didn't have a mic stand and there's no way to fix it. That's the Lego house. That's the mic stand. His name is Brandon. He's a Baroque oboe master student. At Juilliard, I don't know if you heard it, they got $20 million endowment from a $4 billion guy named Chris Kovner. And they perpetuated this program to the Baroque thing. So all of a sudden there's a Baroque in the master's program, fellowships, faculty, and all that. That's all good and well, except that there are only like 2 Baroque ensembles in New York City, and economically it's really hard. So they're all thinking about moving to Germany after this. So Brandon is, he just texted me today. I need help. He is building probably the world's first Baroque, computerized Baroque oboe, because he built his own oboe, Baroque oboe. So I hooked him up with, we don't have a CalArts type lab, so I sent him to Harvest Works to connect with sensor people, so he's all doing that stuff. Anyway, so that's my sort of a class. And I had some visitors, like yourself. We had Max Matthews, we had Jean-Claude Risset, and I've been collaborating for a long time. And he wrote a violin concerto for me with my special sounds. And Milton Babbitt, he passed away. And Jean-Claude used to work together at the Bell Labs in the 60s, and this is the first time in like 30 years they saw each other.
Wow.
In my studio and his studio was like, corridor away, and he walked like this to come see Jean-Claude. Anyway. And Gerhard Bales is the CEO of Ableton. And we have had, last year, Jean-Baptiste Barrière, formerly a director of pedagogy at IRCAM, he has been in New York City for a year teaching at Columbia. So we decided to just, spontaneously get together and did a show and tell. So that's the guy who's talking right now is Jaime Oliver. Fantastic. So we sort of showed our stuff, and Columbia students were, of course, all composers, and my students were kind of, their impression was, oh, are they still doing click track? Yeah. So that's not, but they can talk intelligently, and that's all good. Also, last May, IRCAM's a musical representation team, which runs OMAX, which by the way I'm going to run tonight a little bit. Organized a festival called Improtech Paris, New York, and they asked me to do a talk, but instead I brought my students with me, so I did a little talk, and I had the Juilliard students present to the Parisians, which was a lot of fun. They were very nervous, but they did it, and they made some contacts with them, so that's all good. The head is Jojo Study. The head. Okay, so here comes my note to self part. So creating interactive performance by traditional trained performers is my daily life. So, okay, aside from everything that I'm talking about, you have to keep in mind that these students you saw at Juilliard, they're mostly fellowship supported. So in turn, they have to service the school a lot, like playing concerts, performing for the donors. They're way overworked. So they're always in 3-4 ensembles from morning to late night, and they hardly have any time to themselves. And it's really disheartening. After the Christmas break, they look so fresh and gained a pound. And so it's like, mommy fed them, put it there. And then, but right about now, they're like completely going like that. So, what I go through with relating to these classical players who want to expand their craft, I notice right away that they have the same approach as I do, which simple pitch shifting or delay or whatever process that they do, they really care about the quality, because their sound is their life, right? So if the process sound is crappy, they don't put up with it. So they go like, oh, is there any better ones that I can use? The better ones we can. So it's always very challenging, and it really, keeps me on the edge, which is the thing, and that's the only reason you teach, right? So, I'm not having the power. Okay, got it. That's why it's in the dark. Okay. So, so there are several issues. First, I have creative approaches. How do you go about creating interactive piece? There are some musical challenges because of it that doesn't exist in traditional composition with string quartet. And then there's technical challenges. Of course, we are not technologists. We are musicians, and some just start to do Max MSD or whatever. So there's that. And then what do you do after this? What do you do after all this? Like, okay, now you have your piece written for you and electronics. What do you do with it? It's not good enough to just do something. You have to, have a, what was that? The consequence? Existence? Existence consequences. And then there is also, where I am, I really don't have any real say in what to do with the program because it's Juilliard. So, but what I see that should happen. So first, the creative approaches. So there are kids who come in with very definite ideas, and this is what I want Mari to help. Like the other day, last year, I think, this jazz pianist named Jonathan Baptiste. I don't know if you know. He just casually walked in my room, very slowly. And so, I want to know all about Max, and So I kind of gave him like a quick tour and website, and he was really interested in using jitter. And I'm not a jitter programmer, but he had exactly what, it was really amazing because he's kind of way back, New Orleans pianist. But then when he comes to music ideas, he has like a laser sharp, this is what he wants, and it's very clear. So I learned like very quickly how to do that, seeing that he wanted to do in jitter, and he said, "Oh, this is so cool." He talks like this very slowly. "I think I want to do this next week at the Blue Note." Okay. And about 10 days he literally parked in my living room with kids running around, and we worked together, and we did put it together. He had a piano, and he had a little Casio or some Roland or keyboard that he plays with, and a computer, and he had thousands of images of New Orleans and all that stuff, and he was triggering and all that stuff, and it was really beautiful the way, but he exactly knew how pacing of the music, and I need a little time, and that's too long, or that's too short. So his vision was really right there, and I could really see that. So that's sort of a one way to approach. Right now I'm working with a composer who has this Jewish song and a poetry that he needs to do. So I'm sort of directing him in that, what you need to do and things like that. So I'm like a therapist. So what do you think? What do you feel? And then I give them the answer. So maybe you should. So it's a lot of therapy. And then there's this instrument-specific approach where someone like Brandon, the oboe guy, comes in, and he has this very, so we could say, limited capability of that instrument. So he wants to expand that. He wants to modify the process. And so how can I make this instrument, evolve? He wants to evolve an instrument. So we create music from that perspective. And what can you do that you cannot do right now with the Baroque oboe? So it's sort of an instrument-oriented approach. And there are some kids that comes in with, I want to, I heard this on YouTube and I want that sound. I want to do this, and that's a little too, but they usually, those guys have a very clear idea. I want something like that on the YouTube, but more this or more that. So that's also easy for me to sort of, steer them into the right direction. Then there are some he wants to learn Ableton, the Max for Live. So that's why I learned a bit of Max for Live, because this boy last year wanted to write API. Just build API. So he spent all his semester writing API with me, which was great for me. I use it. So that's kind of rare for Juilliard, but there are some kids like that. So there's that. Anyway, so here's the main, my world, the musical challenges. We talk about this all the time. So unlike writing for a quartet or playing a quartet or violin piece, we don't know what the sound can be, because we don't know what we can make. We might process something and it doesn't sound the way you imagined it. So there's always, there's more unknown than known in the electronic music than just, I have 4 strings and I have a bow. So that's very limited in terms of materials. But I often talk about shopping malls. Like when you go to one of those gigantic, French, Carrefour or something, huge shopping mall where you can I bought my wedding ring in a shopping mall in France. So you can buy a wedding ring and fish and, video game and lawnmower in one place. And you can go in there and having dramatism, having a clear idea of what I want. I am going to have a steak. I'm going to have a filet mignon tonight. In that case, okay, so Kaor or whatever, red wine, haricot vert, and, bread and sides. And so you know what to get, you know what to buy. And you're just get there and out of there. So it's like, okay, I'm going to do this processing, so I'm going to need this, and it's just put together, and voila. But there is a way, or you can go in there and say, I'm going to have a fish tonight. But what fish, my mother in Japan taught me, never go to a fish store with a preconceived idea of what you're going to have. So get the freshest, fish. So that's what I do in New York, in Fairways or something. I go to the fish counter and say, so what's good today? Every single time they say, oh, everything's great. So what do you really want? Then it's a salmon today. And why don't they tell the first time? Anyway, so you think you're going to use this, but then you discover, oh my God, this processing is great. I need to use that. And then your whole scheme might just go away, and you have to deal with the new processing or patches or schemes. And so then the design that you might have had for a composition might entirely change or goes to the garbage. You have to kind of rework your musical structure around the new tools that you find. So I think that's the biggest challenges, because even if you're writing for a grand orchestra, your material, you have the violin sections, string section, brass, you can put, things like percussion is probably the most unknown or, variable instrument that you can put in, but still, you know what you can use, but in technology, you don't know. So that sort of, you don't know, or you have more, less idea of what you can put in. So that sort of, that is, I think, the hardest thing to do is to imagine what you don't know or work with it. So relating to what I just said at the beginning about the delay, let's just take a simple delay. You have to develop a new ways of listening, counting, feeling about music when you're dealing with the electronics. You cannot just play the way you do. But that sort of, in a weird way helped me. I have a recording session in Japan in about a week. And when you do that, I'm recording a piece for violin in the processing, but at the recording session, I'm just doing the violin part, and the composer is going to, process afterwards. So I don't do the electronic part. But when you do that, I have to play in a pace, expecting that that effect is going to be added to me. Because if I don't, I go probably too fast. So things like that, you have to that's a simple example. But you have to listen yourself in a way that you're not accustomed to without the electronics. And that's really interesting to me, the new ways of thinking and listening to music that didn't exist before, and that's the most exciting thing I do. So anyway, oh yeah, I did this already. I said that already. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Anyway, and the technical challenges, of course, we're not programmers, so programming is always hard. And as I said, they have very limited time in their lives. So, balancing that time constraint with whatever they have to do is always a challenge. Yeah, so at the beginning I showed you the bassoon player. We were tracking, I never tracked the bassoon before, and I didn't know that you cannot really track the bassoon with a microphone right here. It has to be over there. See, I didn't know that kind of thing. See, so I'm always learning, so for this instrument, and you have to change window size, that kind of stuff. So, for violin, I know the lowest, frequency, highest frequency, and when you process some different instrument, you have to put the microphone in different places and that kind of thing. So that's sort of a technical, thing that I'm finding. Yeah, so I already said that. Okay, so, creative outlet and a career perspective. Okay, so the pros. When I first started in the very early 90s, I was practically the first one. And to my surprise, I was all of a sudden in newspaper and radio and da-da-da. So the first one to do something is always, good. And the person like Brandon, the oboe guy, Baroque oboe, he's going to be the first Baroque musician to go computer. So, I'll work on that with him. I should be his manager, already his manager. And then, this is really a conservatory training specific, but if all fails, we can still play. So it's a sort of a conceited notion of, don't worry. And the cons. Okay, so what I did to myself early on when I went to Tanglewood when I was really young, I decided that I didn't want to be an orchestra musician because I sat next to an old violinist who was playing 1812 Overture while talking to me because he was hitting all the notes, but he was bored to death. And he was sitting like this. And I thought that's so sad, and I thought this is not really my life. So then I went all the way to the way forward, which helped me in a way to gain some exposure, except that I established my own genre in a way. So that's a good thing, except that you don't get hired. Because there is no place for me to put it, be put. So it's if you cultivate a new genre. I mean, the Brandon, the Baroque guy, he's going to have to do that. So I'm already warning him that you have to start building that network and community and build his career. You have to pave your way before you walk on it. So that's sort of a thing that you have to do. And also, violin is the worst. You can get I'm completely stereotyped. That's fine with me. But then I still do other, classical things. So you want to keep your classical chops and world and people and the connection at the same time you do other things. So it's sort of a balancing thing. And when I first started to do this while I was still at Juilliard, actually I didn't tell anything to my teacher, my 97-year-old teacher. One day it was revealed that I was even playing a Berlioz for violin, which I did the U.S. premiere. And I didn't tell him. I was secretly, not secretly, but I was playing for Paul Zukovsky. You know Paul Zukovsky? Sure. So then one week I didn't have anything to show him. I usually bring Bach or something. Then I was working so hard on this thing and I didn't have anything to show him. And I went to the lesson. I showed him Berlioz and said, oh, this is interesting. That third page is musically not working. But I might learn this myself. He was like 97 at that time. So anyway, that's admirable. Okay, so the last one that I think that what conservatories should do, I mean, talking about Jean Baptiste, but Juilliard kids like that, Chihiro who plays in Radio City, Juilliard is very much like, you do something in school, next day you're performing out there, and New York Times might come and define you as, like, trash you for your career. So you have to be really on top of your game all the time and, risk of being exposed. So really have to prepare them from lab to stage. I like to say, well, today you're in the lab, tomorrow you're out there. So I like them to be very prepared, presentable, and stuff like that. And I think the institution should really systematize that to facilitate the students. Okay. So this is something that I'm going to talk about next, but something like Max MSP is just too hard for classical performers who have no time to learn things like that. So we need to make something that very user-friendly. I did this for Juilliard Quartet the other day. The cellist named Joe Krosnick. He wanted to do something interactive. And he doesn't do any computer except for email. So I had to kind of make something that he only had to touch something once, like space bar, and then everything would go magically. And so we need to make something that's very easy to understand, like something like a ready to wear, prêt-à-porter of interactive things. And I did a quartet for cassette string quartet. They also only do emails. So, I had like three movements. First movement, second movement, third movement, and that's it. That's all they have to do. And that kind of easily controllable system that's flexible in nature but not too complicated and robust has to be developed. And okay, so this is something I want to note this out really. So with the Columbia or business people, you have to pave the way for these kids to establish this genre of interactive computer music performance as something that's viable and become more of a norm, of a tradition over time, so to speak. So that's where I am right now, to try to incubate that and make it more popular. And one of which is I'm inaugurating a festival this year. It's called Future Music Lab. This very traditional summer festival called Atlantic Music Festival. Atlantic, but it's in Maine at Colby College. And the faculties from Juilliard and Curtis, and it's opera and two orchestras, and it's huge. I get it. I think Ken Ueno's going to be there in the competition. So I'm starting this this year, and hopefully to grow more kids with very high accomplishment in a traditional sense. So this is for, it's a 4-week intensive class for conservatory trained performers, not technologists who want to, performers and composers, but mainly I'm interested in performers. So I'll do that. And then we have an official collaboration from IACOM. So they're really happy about dealing with performers and so on. So we have a free IACOM forum, and we probably do blogging, live streaming probably with IACOM during the summer with the Frederick's group, real-time musical interaction team and musical representation team and so on. So that's really good. And something, MSP very fast and try to get them to use it right away. Pretty poor they have to make this system, yikes. And and then at the end, they will perform at the end of the month. So that's the part of my talk that was created in panic. Then from here, I have my own stuff, but just take a little, question or anything that you want to ask. If not, I'll just go on. Yeah.
I have a question. Talking about the ready-to-wear versions, what are some of your strategies for ensuring their robustness? Because I can imagine someone who's nervous checking their email if the thing doesn't work on stage. When that happens to me, I tend to open the patch and try to figure it out and fix it. But how do you make it so that they don't have to do that?
Well, we have to make sure that doesn't happen. It's like a commitment that you make with your instrument as a classical performer. You're not gonna mess up your piece. I mean, it's all or nothing. I mean, if you mess up your piece, you're messed up. So you cannot crash. I don't know how else to. George Lewis told me years ago, Mara, you're too old to crash. So I'm really old to crash. Anything else? Yeah?
Can jazz people come to the future music lab?
No. We don't have a jazz program. It's only classical orchestra, there's opera, singers, pianists, composers, but I don't think there's a jazz program yet. You're busy inbound, I know. So, no, unfortunately we don't have that. Yeah.
A question about, I guess, are you doing anything in your classes or doing more generally working with people who are just exclusively computer musicians? Because I found that, I do some work in Max MSP, and I've had pieces that have worked for me, but then I found when I work with somebody who's just doing code all day, is really in this world. Working with a computer improviser, they have such a wider, language and ability with this and fluency. So I'm wondering if there's any efforts to pair up performers with people who really specialize in this and try to get interactive things going that way as well.
I said about collaborations. That's a perfect collaborative, and there are so many people who are really great technologists and so many workshops and but nothing like this exists because we're just not that good in programming. So that's what I'm trying to amend and incubate. Anything else? No? Okay, so moving on. What time is it?
23.
I have how many minutes? Oh.
15.
Okay. All right. So moving on. So my MO, that many of you might know, I want the complete autonomy on stage. Like I don't want to be stepping on anything, touching anything, if I can help it. In an ensemble situation, this is a little difficult if I don't plan it that way. Today, for instance, with Vijay, I'm going to have to touch something. But but usually when I play my own pieces, I don't like to, step on. And believe me, when I started with the MIDI back in early, I had 7 pedals that went like that. So I've done that, been there, done it, and it's not elegant. So it's not because of that, but I have a problem with the foot pedal, which is that why do you want to show something that you're going to do before you do it? You know, I mean, why do you want to advertise? Change. That's really dumb. So I'd rather, you know. Now what? Yeah, so no foot pedal, nothing like this. So 2 years ago, I was a resident at ICIT for 3 nice, beautiful months without children. And I put them in a French school so they can learn French, and that was all good. Everyone's happy, maybe. And collaborated with the Frederic Belacqua's team, who has this motion sensors. And what I'm using is right here, this thing. That's a picture from New York Times. The inside little thing is the ICIT thing, and the glove is made by somebody else, Mark Salinas, who's a fashion designer in New York. Mark came up. First I had, so that thing, that the sensor was first, Frederick made it so that the big part, which is the circuit board and the battery, was fixed on the wrist, and the sensor portion was on the bow with a band, and there's an umbilical that went from the wrist to the bow. So what that means is that if we want to have a cup of coffee, the bow will come with me, right? So, or if I want to type something, the bow is dragging. So I thought that was very not good. So I decided that, okay, so where is that sensor? Sensor was attached to the frog of the bow right here, and my hand is practically right there. So if I put the sensor right there, which doesn't move much at all, I mean, I'm using my finger a little bit, and my wrist and my, rest of the arm, but this part doesn't really move differently. So I decided to put everything in the glove, so I'm wireless that way. So the first version I made, I went to the store and got a lace glove. I thought, I should look nicely. So I got a lace glove, except that if you play the violin, you know that if you're wearing the glove, it slips. So I had to cut off the finger. It looked like a ninja glove, and I was playing a concert in New York, and this guy came up to me and said, "May I design your glove?" So of course, it must have looked atrocious to him. So this is like the second version that he made. Anyway, so I did that, and I've been doing lots of concerts with my glove. That's a Scientific American for some reason. So the 2 years ago in the summer, I had like 4 people that I worked with. Nicolas Samimanana. He is, he just got a PhD from ICIT about 2 years ago, and now created a company called Phonotonic, which is a satellite company of ICIT, so he can actually officially sell ICIT technology to the world, and ICIT is very happy about it because they had a problem selling their stuff because of the bureaucracy, the system that they. So, and Frederic is the boss, and Norbert is the German engineer / he bugs me. Anyway, and I just provided some chocolate. And this is in the ICIT Studio 1. If you've been to ICIT, all the studios are in the basement. The researchers are on the top floor. So the key is to lure these people down to my studio, so they will help me. So I said, I have a chocolate in my studio. So what we did was to, first, when we started our residency, I sat with them and said, so what is the motion in the violin? You have a sound-making gesture, which is to put your bow down and play, right? And then you have the gesture that's after you play. So this gesture, or before you play, this gesture, until you play. And those gestures actually contain expression, not the sound-making gesture itself. So when you end something, end the piece, Morton Feldman style. And then, or something like that, the big ending, and then people immediately clap. So when do those moments? How can you track when people clap? When do you know that people clap? So can you track from this state until the people clap? Yeah. So we track. That's why the little gray thing. Yeah. So I asked them to track those places to see what I'm doing. I'm going to play forte. I cannot just go like that. I go like, so I'm like this sort of a, I have to stop my motion in order to place my bow so I can generate a fast, bow like, can you just track this, and then like that. So combining with the audio output, like a loud amplitude, attack, and the motion that comes before and maybe after, that all together makes the system to know what I did, expression-wise. So that's what we. In the top picture, the canopy bar is the motion sensor data, and the video, so they know what I'm doing, and the sound. Together, we recorded so many instances of musical scenarios, and they just combine the data. So we came up with a lot of stuff, and every time we came up with something, I said, that's a holy grail. So one of the first things that I said was, so what does make a violin a violin? Why is not a guitar? Because you sustain. The piano, sorry to say, just press a key and it goes down, unless you're Davidovsky and have tape. So violin is not a guitar. You can sustain because you're, in physics, you're basically continually plucking, right, with a kink that goes like this. So this is what makes the violin. The violin is sustained. Can you track when I'm sustaining? And they said, oh, yeah, we can do that, but we never thought of it that way. So every time I asked them something that I wanted to do, the answer was always the same. We have that, but we never use it that way. So that sort of tells me very strongly that place needs a performer. The people go in there and say, I need this and this. Oh yeah, we have that already, but we never. So they have so many things that they already have, but they have not put them together. So we, this is the main thing that they call steadiness or stillness or steadiness. So can you detect when I'm drawing the bow in a steady manner? So that's a big part of interaction that I'm used now. And little things like pizzicato motion before I put my finger on the string and after with the sound combined. So that's very reliable tracking. Let's see. Oh yeah, cloning and audio and gesture combined. It's a little problematic, but I did it. Okay. So the piece that I'm going to play tonight, we're still working on this still. But so there is the retake. The bow has a retake like this, or the retake when they come back. So there is an inertia motion that happens depending on your expression. So how can you track it? And please track this part and try to give me that expression in numbers. So that's what we're working on right now. It's almost there. And that's why it's called eigenspace, because Nicola is using something called eigenvalue to calculate my whatever motion. And last year well, really it's he. We managed to detect up and down bow, which is not easy, actually. And Norbert, who's all around the robot German engineer, he updated all my systems, and so he looked at my patches. Oh. So he cleaned up my, and he gives me a lot of ideas. Oh yeah, and he, showed me Super VP. It's really great sounding. I mean, he and Axel Rogel, so they're two German engineers at IRCAM, and they're like, we are the engine of the IRCAM, Germans. So so they did a lot of things, and he showed me something called the ring buffer, Super VP ring buffer. I don't know if you use it, but it's a great thing, except that I can't control it. It's too, and Norbert said, yeah, this will be hard to control. So, but it gave me the idea of making this piece that actually I can change my past, which is such a great idea. I have so many things that I want to change in my life. So I made this piece called Elastic Cannon. So you know what cannon is, right? You say like that. So the second voice comes in, taking the sample of what I just played. I played the top part only. And with my bow, I can actually control, change what I just did. So that's why I call it Elastic Cannon, changing my past. So I don't know if I cannot do it now because in live, because I don't have audio interface hooked up. So I have that's me. Do you get it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I like that idea very much, and that's one of the things I want to do more, changing my past. So that's a great thing. Okay. So working with engineers like IRCAM people, I had 4 main collaborators there. Nicola, who is French, Malagasy, but he's French. And Bruno, who's Italian, and Norbert is German, and Frederick is Swiss. It was like so stereotypical European males. And then it was so funny because I go there, and Bruno, the Italian boy, he's really well known now with he does the sensor stuff. Like he got like million hits on his stuff, and his career is taking off like crazy. Anyway, he wanted the patch to look very good and slick, and he has to kind of do. And Norbert, everything is robustness, and Frederick is so precise, like Swiss watch. If the point 0.0001 different, that's wrong. And Nicola, my main collaborator, if I move one object in max a little left, he goes there. So I had the sort of a perfect team. I said Lamborghini, which is Italian, but something that's a perfect and something that's beautiful, and I don't know if it always works, but it doesn't. And I said, I'm a Toyota. I have to get from point A to point B, meaning the concert or something, and it has to work. I don't care if the object is a little bit on the left or whatever. It doesn't have to be super precise. It works, but it has to be robust. But it has to be workable. So I had to tell them that. Frederick would go, I can fix that. I can make it perfect. So, no. You're not going to fix anything. 2 days before the concert, no. That's it. You're not going to. So, making that Canon elastic thing, I wanted to use the ring buffer, which I could not control, but I had to play that in the Radio France live. So, I kind of cheated it without the ring buffer, and so I had some limitations to using scrub with my bow instead of really doing the ring buffer. But it sounds as if I'm using a ring buffer, and who's going to know? Me. So anyway, so that kind of, I have to do I have to make do with Toyota sometimes. So this is what I'm doing today. One of my new current collaboration with a Japanese filmmaker, Tomoyuki Kato. He does the theme parks and large-scale expos and stuff like that. So he and I are actually premiering a new work at River to River Festival in New York in June. It's going to be like an evening length and all that stuff. So this is sort of a part of that. And another thing is, this is something I will use with VJ tonight. I'm working with OMAX. So OMAX is the improvisation AI-based program at IRCAM. Anyway, just to end it, I don't know if you know about IRCAM, but they have a very strong tradition called score following. I don't know if you know about score following. Score following meaning, you do something and the computer follows you, and there have been so many research already, years and years of research, and never quite work. And if you have like a score program, following program, you see they're doing this. So I never really was taken by score following. And then I thought to myself, okay, you're playing with a pianist, for instance. Do you really, look at note by note and go like this? You don't. It's a score, you don't. And you just sort of, you walk together with someone, for instance. You just walk next to each other, but you don't, go like that. So it's better to go together, but not really look at the notes individually. So I did this, and they said, how are you tracking it? Okay, so this is horrible. BJ, I'm sorry, this is a horrible pianist, but this is a Max for Live. Do I have? Yeah, there you go. Okay, now I have to do this thing on the different screen. Okay. Oh boy, here you go. Okay. So this is score following without following the score. It's just an example. I'm not replacing any live pianist or anything. So we'll see.
Replace away.
It's terrible. It's terrible what I do. Okay. So let's hope that works. I'll explain what's inside later, but anyway. Okay, so let's see. My mouse. Okay. Is it yellow? It's not yellow?
It's green.
Oh, it is yellow. Or green, whatever. Okay, so what do I do? Just press this. Yeah, so this is a quantized piano, right? Horrible. That is until I turn on my sensor. All right, so is that it? I think so. Yeah, that was a Chikubarki. Well, just to sum it up, for this gesture thing, so there's a composer with a blue big head who has a musical concept equally as big as his head, and then there's a score which composer put their concept on the 2D. Actually, I talked to Kyoka about how about 3D score now. It's like 4D, it's time to do that. Anyway, and then that score gets interrupted by hot-headed redhead performer with a small head, like myself. And then who adds this flow to that, and that becomes the music, right? So this sensor that I'm using now comes in there, right before the music making. So it's more immediate than the score following. So, and thanks to everybody that's behind this whole thing. Have any questions? I can take it now or later. Doesn't matter.
What's in the glove?
What? The glove?
Yeah.
I showed you. It's a sensor.
No, but like actually, what is it specifically?
It was on the
What's the
picture.
material of the glove?
This? Oh, whatever, lycra, yeah. Like very thin lycra that I forget that I'm wearing. I go to the kitchen and start doing dishes.
What are those 3 dots?
Just a.
Are
It's
they
not a sensor. Just a. decoration.
Sensor of what?
No,
Oh, it's
it's
not
not
a sensor.
No. Sensor is right there in here, like this big.
It's an accelerometer.
A 3D accelerometer to axis gyro. Nothing? Yep.
For the tempo adjustment, if
Yeah.
you were to start just playing in double time, would it follow you?
If I design that way, but playing that piece of music, I'm not going to speed up more than that, right? So there's a common sense, So the common sense that if I do that, I can do that, but then I'll take off the speed limits, whatever that I'm limiting. So it doesn't go slower than a certain amount. Like if you do that with a real pianist, you'll fire. It's like, what the hell you're doing? So, yeah, I do a lot of common sense thing that real musicians will really not do. Anything else? Nothing? Okay, well then. Thank you.